Let me tell you about two coworkers. They work at the same company, same city, similar commute. One earns $88,000 a year. The other earns $47,000. Go visit the first person's house. You'll find a 3-car garage with 2 cars and a jet ski nobody's taken out since last summer. A walk-in closet packed so tight that half of it hasn't been touched in months. A home office with $6,000 worth of tech equipment for a person who works a regular 9 to 5. A gym membership, a Peloton, and a yoga app subscription, all running simultaneously. Every surface has something on it. Every drawer is full. This person earns nearly $90,000 a year and feels broke. Not occasionally, constantly. Now visit the second person. Smaller place, cleaner. You notice what's not there more than what is. A simple desk, a reliable car outside, a closet with clothes they actually wear, a kitchen with tools that get used. This person earns $47,000, has 14 months of expenses in savings, invests every single month without fail. Same city, same economy. One person is financially drowning on nearly double the income. This isn't about how much you earn. It's about a relationship between stuff and money that most people spend their entire lives never understanding. Today, I'm going to walk you through the exact rules that separate people who always seem to have money from people who never do, no matter what they earn. These aren't theories. They're practical shifts in how you think about every single thing you own and buy. Let's get into it. Before the rules, you need to understand one idea that will permanently change how you see purchases. Every item you buy has 2 price tags. The first one is obvious. It's what you pay at checkout. The second one is invisible, and it often costs more than the first. Take a guest bedroom that became a storage room. Most people don't think of that room as expensive. But if you're paying $1,800 a month in rent, and that room is one of 3, you're spending $600 a month, $7,200 a year, to store boxes you never open. Take a sports car. The sticker price feels like the big number. But insurance, premium fuel, depreciation, and maintenance on a high-performance vehicle can quietly cost you $8,000 to $12,000 every year on top of what you paid. Take a camera setup bought for a photography phase that lasted 4 months. It sits in a bag in the closet. It paid full price to enter your life and now pays in mental clutter every time you see it and think, I should really use that. Then there's the cost that stings the most. Opportunity cost. $12,000 sitting in camera gear you don't use is $12,000 not compounding in an index fund. Over 20 years, at average market returns, that's closer to $50,000. You didn't just buy a camera, you bought a camera instead of a future. When you start calculating the real cost of ownership, space, maintenance, mental energy, opportunity cost, most things stop looking like good deals. That's what minimalists understand that most people don't. Rule 1. Calculate cost per use before you buy anything. Here's the most honest question you can ask before any purchase. How many times will I realistically use this? Divide the price by that number. That's your cost per use. The only number that actually matters. A $180 cookbook used twice has a cost per use of $90. That's an expensive meal. A $450 pair of running shoes worn 4 times a week for 2 years costs about 55 cents per run. That's remarkable value for something directly affecting your health. A $600 stand mixer used twice a year for holiday baking costs $300 per use in year 1. A $20 hand mixer used every weekend costs about 20 cents per use. This single calculation destroys most impulse purchases the moment you apply it. It cuts through marketing and excitement and shows you what something actually costs in real terms. Rule 2. Use the disappearance test on everything you already own. Walk through your home. Look at each item. Ask one question. If this vanished tomorrow, would I go spend money to replace it? Not, would I miss it in theory? Would you actually open your wallet? Be honest. Would you replace the bread maker? The 3 sets of luggage when you only travel once a year? The box of cables for devices you no longer own? For most items, if you're being truthful, the answer is no. These items have negative value. They're not neutral. They cost you space, time, and mental energy while giving you nothing in return. Sell what has value. Donate what someone else can use. Let go of the rest. The lightness you feel afterward isn't just physical, it's financial clarity. Rule 3. Never upgrade something that still works. This is where a lot of high earners quietly destroy their own wealth. Their laptop runs perfectly fine, but a thinner model just launched. Their car is reliable, but it's 3 years old now. Their phone takes excellent photos, but the new release takes slightly better ones. These aren't upgrades. They're wealth transfers disguised as progress. Think about the average person who upgrades their laptop every 3 years, even when the old one works. Over 30 years, that habit alone costs $15,000 to $25,000 in unnecessary spending. Add phones, cars, furniture, and televisions following the same pattern, and you're looking at $150,000 to $200,000 over a lifetime. Gone not to anything meaningful, but to the idea that newer equals better. A minimalist defines broken very specifically. Something is broken when it genuinely cannot do what you need it to do. Not when a newer version exists. Not when you've grown bored of it. Not when your colleague has something shinier. Boredom is not a reason to spend money. Marketing is not a problem that needs solving. Rule 4. Build systems, not willpower. Willpower is unreliable. It depletes when you're tired, stressed, or emotional, which is exactly when you're most likely to make financial mistakes. Environment is constant. Build an environment where the right choice is the easy choice. Make spending harder. Remove saved payment details from retail sites. Delete shopping apps. Unsubscribe from every promotional email. Don't browse stores without a specific list. Install a browser extension that adds a mandatory 24-hour pause before any online checkout. Make saving easier. Automate transfers to your investment account the day you get paid. Keep only what you need for monthly expenses in your checking account. Treat savings like rent. Non-negotiable, not optional. The 24-hour rule alone is worth thousands of dollars a year to most people. When you have to wait a day before buying, about 70% of purchase desires simply disappear. The item doesn't get less available. You just stop wanting it once the initial excitement fades. You're not relying on being disciplined in the moment. You're designing a life where impulsive decisions are structurally difficult to make. While we're talking about systems, here's one of the fastest financial wins most people never take. Open your bank statement right now, or this evening if you're watching this later. Highlight every single recurring charge, every subscription, every membership, every auto renewal. Now write the annual cost next to each one, not the monthly number, the annual one. Because $14 a month sounds completely reasonable until you write $168 and ask yourself honestly, when did I last open that app? Most people find between $150 and $300 a month in subscriptions they'd either forgotten about or genuinely stopped using. That's up to $3,600 a year quietly leaving your account. For nothing. The rule is simple. If you can't remember using it in the last 30 days, cancel it today. No deliberation. No, I might use it next month. Just cancel. If you genuinely miss it, one email gets it back. This is probably the fastest $1,000 most people will ever find without changing a single habit. It takes 20 minutes. Most people just never do it. Rule 5. Count what you own. This sounds strange until you actually do it. Pick one category. Count every item in it. Write the number down. Most people are shocked. They estimate they own 15 shirts and count 38. They think they have a few kitchen gadgets and find 22. They believe they have a modest shoe collection and discover 31 pairs. The act of counting alone changes behavior. Once you know you own 38 shirts, buying another feels different. The absurdity of it becomes concrete and visible rather than vague. From there, set a limit. Decide that 25 items of clothing is your number, or 12 books at any one time with a one-in, one-out policy, or that your kitchen counter can only hold what fits in a single cabinet. These aren't rules someone else imposed on you. They're boundaries you set intentionally. Every purchase beyond that boundary requires removing something first, and that friction alone is enough to stop most unnecessary buying. Rule 6. Rent or borrow before you commit. Most purchases follow the same arc. Intense excitement at the start, regular use for a few weeks, gradual decline, eventual abandonment. Then the item lives in your home indefinitely, paying rent in space and guilt. Minimalists test enthusiasm before funding it. Want to get into cycling? Rent a bike 3 or 4 times before buying one. Want to try home brewing? Borrow equipment from someone before spending $400 on a starter kit. Want to learn woodworking? Use a shared workshop space first. This does 2 things. First, it reveals whether the interest is real or just novelty. A lot of hobbies sound exciting until you've actually tried them twice. Second, when you do eventually buy, you buy exactly what you need, not a beginner's guess at what you might need. Garages and spare rooms across the country are full of the physical evidence of interests that lasted 6 weeks. Minimalists don't collect that evidence. They test before they invest. Rule 7. Calculate the full ecosystem cost. Nothing expensive exists in isolation. A hot tub sounds like a one-time purchase until you factor in the chemical maintenance, the increased electricity bill, the deck reinforcement it needs, the cover, the water testing kit, and the repairs that will come eventually. A $6,000 hot tub is closer to a $10,000 commitment over 3 years. A puppy sounds simple until you calculate food, vet bills, boarding, training, grooming, and the lifestyle changes required around its schedule. That's $2,000 to $5,000 a year, easily. An investment property sounds passive until you account for repairs, vacancy periods, property management, insurance, taxes, and your own time. The return often looks very different once the full ecosystem is priced in. Before any major purchase, list every related cost that comes with it. Add them up honestly, then decide. The same logic works in reverse. When you eliminate one major possession, you often eliminate an entire category of costs alongside it. Selling a second car doesn't just remove the car payment. It removes the insurance, the registration, the maintenance, the fuel, and the parking. The monthly savings are often 40% larger than people expect. Rule 8. Define enough before you start earning more. This is the trap that quietly ruins high earners. They never decide what enough looks like. So every income increase becomes a lifestyle increase. The new salary normalizes. Then they need another raise to feel progress. The cycle repeats indefinitely. People earning $250,000 often feel exactly as financially anxious as people earning $70,000 because their lifestyle expanded to match every increase along the way. The fix is simple, but it requires honesty. Decide right now what enough looks like for you. What size home is genuinely sufficient? What car actually meets your needs? What level of comfort constitutes a good life versus just a more expensive one? Write it down. Hold the line when income grows. The person who defines enough at $55,000 of annual spending and then grows their income to $130,000 has $75,000 a year flowing directly toward financial freedom. That compounds into life-changing wealth within a decade. The person earning the same $130,000 who kept redefining enough upward might have almost nothing to show for it. Enough is a decision. Make it deliberately before the money arrives, not after. There's a well-documented psychological pattern that explains why defining enough is so difficult for most people. It's called the arrival fallacy. It's the belief that once you get the thing, the bigger house, the newer car, the next income level, you'll finally feel settled. Comfortable, done, you won't. Not for long. The mind adapts to new normals faster than most people expect. Research shows the excitement of a major purchase fades within 4 to 8 weeks. The bigger apartment becomes the new baseline. The new car becomes just the car. Then the feeling of wanting something more returns, and the cycle starts again. This isn't weakness. It's human psychology working exactly as designed, but understanding it is the only real protection against it. Before any major upgrade, pause and ask one honest question. Am I chasing something real and practical, or am I chasing a feeling I imagine it will bring? Because that feeling has an expiry date. The financial consequences of funding it don't. Rule 9. Measure wealth by options, not objects. Most people measure wealth by what they have. The house, the car, the wardrobe, the visible markers. Minimalists measure it differently. They measure it by what they're free to do. Can you leave a job that's damaging your health without immediate panic? Can you take 3 months away from work to care for a parent? Can you say no to a well-paying opportunity that compromises what you value? Can you retire before 65 if you choose to? These aren't luxuries. They're the actual point of money. They're only available to people with real margin between income and spending. Someone earning $180,000 but spending $172,000 has almost no options. They're trapped by their own lifestyle. Someone earning $65,000 but spending $38,000 has genuine freedom. They can take risks, absorb setbacks, and make choices based on what they actually want, rather than what they can afford to keep maintaining. Every purchase is a trade. You're not just exchanging money for an object. You're exchanging some degree of freedom for that object. Sometimes it's worth it. Often it isn't. Rule 10. Declutter in small cycles, not big annual purges. Most people try minimalism the same way. Giant purge. Feels amazing. Then slowly, quietly, things accumulate again. 2 years later, they're back where they started. The purge model doesn't work long-term because it treats accumulation as an event rather than a pattern. Instead, build small, regular habits. A quick check at the end of each week on what came into the house. A single category evaluated each month. A seasonal scan of what's being used versus what's just occupying space. This approach catches accumulation before it becomes overwhelming. Removing 5 items a week is easy and sustainable. Removing 250 items once a year feels like a project, so it keeps getting postponed. The ongoing practice also builds self-awareness. You start noticing which categories tend to grow, which emotional states lead you to shop, which marketing tactics work specifically on you. That awareness prevents the pattern from rebuilding in the first place. Before we get to the practical steps, there's one more cost that almost nobody in personal finance talks about honestly. The price you pay trying to look the part. The dinner at a restaurant you can't comfortably afford because the group chose it and nobody wanted to be the one to say something. The holiday you stretched your budget for because everyone else was going. The outfit bought specifically so you'd fit in at one event. The car upgraded partly, even just partly, because of what the people around you drive. This isn't a character flaw. It's deeply human. Social belonging matters, and status pressure is real. But it's worth sitting with an honest question. How much of your spending is genuinely for you, and how much is a tax you're quietly paying on other people's opinions? Minimalists get selective about this, not by becoming antisocial or difficult, but by learning to separate genuine enjoyment from performance. Before any socially driven purchase, they ask one question: would I want this if nobody could see it or know about it? If the answer is no, that's your answer. That single question, applied consistently, is worth thousands of dollars a year for most people, possibly more. You don't need to overhaul your life this week. Here's what actually works. This week, do the disappearance test in one room. Find 10 things you wouldn't replace. Remove them. Then open your bank statement and do the subscription audit. Cancel everything you haven't used in 30 days. This month, implement the 24-hour rule on every non-essential purchase. Track how many desires survive versus how many fade. The data will be eye-opening. This quarter, count 3 categories that tend to quietly grow. Clothing, books, kitchen gear are good starting points. Set a limit for each. This year, write down what enough looks like across your major spending categories. Be specific. A number for housing, a number for transportation, a number for total annual spending. Then earn beyond that number toward freedom rather than toward more stuff. Here's the thing nobody tells you about spending less. Once your savings grow and your investments are working, the urge to buy things weakens on its own. Most overconsumption is emotionally driven. People buy to feel secure, to signal success, to fill something that feels empty. When your financial foundation is genuinely solid, that emotional need quiets down. You don't need the object to feel like you're doing well. The actual numbers tell you that story instead. That creates a cycle that works in your favor. Spending less builds security. Security reduces the emotional drive to spend. Less spending accelerates the building further. Each step reinforces the next. The opposite cycle is just as real and far more common. Spending everything creates anxiety. Anxiety drives more spending as temporary relief. That relief lasts days. The anxiety returns worse. The cycle continues until something breaks. The choice between these two cycles matters more than your income ever will. Those two coworkers I mentioned at the start, the one earning $88,000 who's always stressed, and the one earning $47,000 who's quietly building something real. They're not living differently because of luck or income. They're living differently because one of them decided to understand the real cost of ownership, define what enough means, and build a life around freedom rather than accumulation. That decision is available to you right now, regardless of what you currently earn. The question is simple. Do you own your things, or do your things own you? If this gave you something to think about, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want more straightforward thinking on money and how to build it quietly, you know where to find me.